We've made it. Oh,
We did. Some
look,
technical difficulties, a
we
little bit
never
of a
signed
delay.
up to be technical gurus. Oh, well, now we know how YouTube works, okay?
And now we know that, how to go live on YouTube, but it won't be today.
Sorry. Oh, everybody, we are so sorry. We wanted to come live from YouTube to you guys, but we need to activate it for 24 hours. Our bad. You live and learn. You never lose.
Had video of the bloopers because
Yeah. Us like typing away.
We should have been recording. We should have been recording the whole time.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, we're here now. So what do we want to talk to everybody about?
I'm excited for today's talk. Mindset for the masses. I'm very excited about this. Yeah.
Well, you were saying, Jenny, when we were talking off air and like trying desperately to get online, you were talking about how your most successful clients are the ones that really grasp this concept.
Yeah, I've been coaching for almost 5 years now. Well, a little longer than 5 years actually. And when I first started coaching, I was all about fitness and nutrition. That was it. There were two aspects of my program, fitness and nutrition. And today it is so different. I always tell clients and potential clients and anyone who will listen to me that my program is 50% mindset, 40% nutrition, and 10% exercise. And I see a very clear distinction between those clients who really utilize the mindset training that we have in our program, and I can tell they tell me that it's having a huge benefit on their personal lives, on their business lives, on their relationships. And I love when I work with another entrepreneur and she tells me or he tells me that all the mindset stuff we talk about is benefiting their business. That just like makes my soul happy. And yeah, it's very clear who utilizes the mindset stuff and who does not. And I'm a pretty good example of it myself. I mean, some people know that I was traveling last week and I did not do my morning ritual, which for me is generally spending 10 to 15 minutes on practicing gratitude and writing affirmation statements and listening to an audiobook. I did not do that at all last week. And I made the best of my time, but I felt pretty exhausted when I got home, and it felt so damn good to get back into that routine. It just felt so good. I think that a morning ritual is extremely important, and not a lot of us realize how important it actually is.
I 100% agree. I did a Zoom call with my clients last week on this very topic. Like, it was called a champion's mindset. And the main thing we talked about was, how does your day begin? And it's so important, I think, to check in with yourself first before you go checking in with everybody else and see how you feel and do what's important to you, because for everyone that's different stuff. Some people like to go out in nature first thing, like Nora, you like to get early, right?
Yeah.
You've got your
morning.
You don't like for the sun to rise without you, isn't that correct?
I get so mad if it does. Like, I mean, I think I control the sunrise. I don't know why people don't think that. But I think, and it's really important to me too, to put this out there, because in all the mindset podcasts that I listen to, I think the one important thing that people miss is that motion is required before mindset can be processed. So you could do all the positive affirmation bullshit that you want and all these things and write yourself stickies on the mirror. That's how it starts. But when you get your body in motion is when you actually process all that, right? Because your senses are engaging and all that stuff. And I think that that's why our clients who are doing the workouts are not falling off the wagon. That kind of discipline and that understanding keeps them disciplined enough to know how important that motion, that lifting is, and that regular everyday activity is, right? Because that's like really the most, mindset is the most important, but mindset cannot be processed without motion. And I wish more people like Tony Robbins, Mastin Kipp, all those guys, I wish that they would really address that, because they all have trainers and coaches and they rarely speak about that.
Right. Okay. So that's really interesting. And Bob Proctor says something frequently which hits home with me, and I think it ties into how we're going to talk about how this goes into other areas of your life. Because Bob Proctor says your income seldom exceeds your personal development. Mm-hmm. And I think that is absolutely true. And when I'm dieting for a show, or if you have any specific goal, I just find that I'm so disciplined during that time that every area of my life improves. Like I always do all my washing up, even though I'm using more utensils than ever for my cooking, which seems really crazy. And like, I always make sure I get my rest. I'm really focused on that. I seem to be more successful in the other areas of my life when I'm really focused in that way, because I suppose my bodybuilding prep is like very spiritual for me. So that's like my kind of Zen time. All my training is. And I think it's really interesting to focus on that, because there'll be a lot of people listening that think that this is just woo-woo bullshit, right? And they're like, what can this really do for me? Mm-hmm. But it can trickle into other areas of your life.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I love when clients tell me like, oh my gosh, my relationship with my husband has improved. My relationship with my coworkers have improved. My work is going great. It really does have a trickle effect. And to go with what you just said, I found myself telling my clients lately that manifestation is intention plus action. You can't just have the intention. You can't just wish it into being. That's not how it works. You still have to take the action. Exactly what you were just saying, Nora.
No, it's and I think that if you are a mom, a lot of our clients are moms, a lot of our clients have families, even the guys can attest to this. But if you have children are much more disciplined when they're in. I noticed with my son, when he was playing football, his grades were so much better. Everything about his life was so much better because he was in motion and he was highly structured, because the mindset that requires to get up at 5, to start your training, to go to the lifting, to get to the next t-shirt that says you're 100% of your lifting capacity, 150%, 200%, builds that competitive, that champion mindset that Holly talked about, which is really, really important. And as we get older, we tend to lose that a little bit. We tend to, again, kids go to school, over here, maybe you're a college grad or something, but why does your education stop? Why does that mindset stop when you hit 30, 40, 50? The education should always continue.
Yeah, always learning, always growing. I find myself a serial student, actually. The older I get, the more I want to learn about all of this. Like, there's so much untapped. What do they say? We use 10% of our brain? 10%? I want to use way more than that. I do, and I wasn't a good student. I was a mediocre high school student.
But that's not a bad thing, because actually the learning system in place in the world is not to do with intelligence. It's to do with remembering things and repeating them back parrot fashion. I'm interested in people that can ask questions and really be heard. And actually a lot of kids that question things get chucked out of the classroom for being cheeky or insolent. And actually they're the very people that we want in the world, because they are the thinkers that think outside the box. And that really excites me. And I think I think that's hugely important. I think that's where entrepreneurs springs from, the ability to question things and to think, could I do this a different way? In a way, I just got to say, like, I'm going off on a tangent, but it's almost great that COVID hit. I launched my business recently, just before COVID hit last year. And it meant that we all had to think outside the box so much. Technical difficulty.
I was logging on to see if we had any comments, and I didn't realize the volume was on.
That would have been a good time to do that. It gave us an opportunity to think outside the box and be resilient and resourceful. And so, it was really cool, because I'm like, okay, I know how to train people and I know how people should eat, but now they are not in gyms, or at that time they weren't in gyms. They're having to build stuff and use stuff at home. We've got to keep them mentally good, because they're living, homeschooling, training, all at home. In a way, you would say, some people would say it's the worst time in the world, but someone like me would be like, what a fucking amazing experiment. I've got so many ideas. Let's try stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, you know what you just said right there, Holly, is what it all comes down to. It is all about perspective, people. It is all about your perspective. And take it from somebody who used to be so depressed. I was really depressed. I was clinically depressed. I saw a psychiatrist every week. I was on antidepressants. I had a terrible mindset. I had a really terrible mindset. Facebook, you know, it reminds me, you know, Facebook memories come up all the time. And about 10 years ago, whenever I see a Facebook memory from 10 years ago, it's complaining.
You've completely 360'd.
Oh, totally.
So what have you done? What did you do to change that?
Well, I started learning. For starters, I started being very mindful about who I was surrounding myself with, because, you know, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I was spending a lot of time with people who were also depressed and everybody deals with depression. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is that the people that I was spending my time with, we were complaining. We were getting together to have bitch fests.
Yeah,
we
like
would just sit there.
it.
Yeah, we would. It was like a snowball. We would complain about one thing and then another and then another, and then it would just snowball. And we would spend the entire time we were visiting complaining. And now it's so different. I like to surround myself with people who I can talk to about ideas and the future and all the good stuff that we're celebrating. And there's so much. It is all about perspective.
And I think, you know, I did a live this week with my clients after I had listened to a podcast myself about woundology, which is something that came about after like the 1960s and 1970s. They explained, like, in the 1960s and 1970s, people didn't explain like what was wrong with them. They weren't allowed to do that, right? They just were into shock treatments. You got put away in a mental institution, whatever. And then the 80s and the 90s came around, and it was like the best thing if you had a therapist, and everybody wanted to talk about like why they had been so repressed and what was wrong with them. And that started a phase called woundology, where people like Jenny just talked about were getting together to talk about what had happened to them. You know, what had happened to them to make them the way that they were. And there were certain people that made relationships based on that, what had happened to me. And the theme of their relationships had been, why did this happen to me? And they get stuck in, why did this happen to me? And that's almost paralysis analysis, right? You want to know the answer to that question so bad that you get paralyzed in that moment. And this woman was explaining, in order to change that, there needs to be a revolution. And a revolution is where we say, we just need to change one thing. And that one thing, no matter how small it is, that one thing, that one change will spur momentum that will lead you into different changes and lead you to actually changing your mindset to believing again that, you know, anything is possible. And I think the girls that came out with us that started lifting their 5-pound dumbbells or their water jugs or whatever at the beginning of COVID, look at them now. They've built home gyms. I mean, it's insane. They're closing. I had a client that was closing a $4 million deal the other day on an aircraft carrier, like, who would have never believed that at the beginning of COVID. Like, she was working from her home. Now she has this crazy office. So it's not about, it's those little changes that she did. It's that little belief every single day that built her self-esteem. And that's where that champion mindset is so important. So all these people believe they're going to come on to get bodies that look like us. And you know, they want this outward appearance. But that outward appearance is representative of a huge mindset shift.
110%. You know, I was talking with friends today. We went out to walk the dogs, and I was talking about the importance of ownership and owning your shit and your stories and your truth.
Personal
I was talking about it,
responsibility.
and I was talking about it like on a global scale with COVID, with everything, and how it's not always easy to do that, and it can take years to unravel, to even notice that this stuff's going on, right? To even notice that you're telling yourself stories, and then to look at them and go, oh my God, I'm not happy being like that. I want to change. How can I change? You know, and so when we're working with people, well, I see my job is to take them as they are, and to calmly and quietly hold a mirror up quite often, but only to a point that they can take. And obviously I'm also carefully changing their habits in terms of the way that they eat or how they feel about exercise. And these are, sometimes clients feel like, oh, well, it's been 2 weeks and nothing's changed. If anything, the scales have gone up. And I'm like, well, okay, it's cool. Let's just look at some of the wins that you've had and be aware that I've spent a lifetime, many, many years, you know, undoing and putting new habits into my life. And I can remember how I felt at each stage along that way. I can remember when I gave up sugar in my tea at 30 years old, 8 years ago. And just that was such a massive step, because I used to drink so much because I worked outside. You know, people who work outside drink so much hot drinks because it's cold. And I had 2 spoonfuls of sugar in every tea. And I was like, it affected my moods and my blood sugar levels so much that I knew I wanted to stop that at 30. To convert myself, I went on to a different kind of tea. And so, and I've progressed a long way from there. But I explained to them, look, it wasn't these things, it's like a peeling off an onion, you know. And actually, as you physically change your body and you reduce fat layers, there are a lot of traumas and emotions. I was discussing this with a client, hidden in there. Some of them have been there since you were a kid, if you've always been overweight. To start looking at that now, this stuff comes up and you do not know what to do with it. So we have to help people and give them tools so that they don't freak out, and because they will want to run back to who they have comfortably been, what's familiar to them, right?
It's so easy to go back.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest myths out there, right, because it came up for me this week, is that you reach this pinnacle point where none of this stuff, you know, like you reach this mindset where you've kind of mastered everything, which is the biggest lie, right? Because this week it came to me, I mean, reverse dieting, everybody knows. Well, you guys know, I shouldn't say everybody knows. Dieting is my biggest fear in life. I do not like to reverse diet. I do not like to do lean gains. I don't like to increase my carbs slowly. I don't understand it. It makes me very paranoid when I start to see a little bit of bulk on my muscles. Okay. And so I inevitably try to cut my carbs again, and then I blast off into some kind of binge eating thing. And it was a hard thing for me to master. And then one of my friends says to me just yesterday, so Becky, if you're watching, thank you. She was like, just treat it like a job.
Yeah. Nora, I'm telling you, I've never been so heavy, and I say to my clients, do you know how hard it is to eat how much I eat every day? Like I'm eating probably more than 3,000 calories a day, but it's all clean. So it's a lot. It's like, it's because I'm trying to build muscle specific for my goals. And my clients were laughing at me yesterday. Jason was like, good thing you train hard because you'd be the size of a house. And I was like, Jace, it is a full-time job to eat the way I'm eating. Let me tell you, it's not a pleasure anymore. It's like a job for me because this is my job. I'm an athlete. So I've got to, and I have to be comfortable with looking how this looks, because it depending on your goals, but it is up here, because I have to not care. I will have people looking at me thinking, she's let herself go. She can't control her food intake. Look at the size of her. And I'm like, I've got a plan. Thank you. I'm following my plan. Like, you know, I have to believe in myself so much. And I do. For that to be okay, I have to constantly do my own mind work. Self-belief is so important, because if other people have the power to throw you off your goals so easily, you're like a ship lost in the sea all the time. You have to choose what you believe and give it a good chance, right?
And I think also you have to be willing, right, to, I tell my clients all the time, I want you to equate things that scare you in the gym, box jumps, or ball slams, or pull-ups, or whatever it is, whatever your like block in your face is, you have to be able to equate that into life, because once you conquer that, you're building faith in yourself. So it was kind of a thing yesterday when my friend said that to me. I've built so much faith in myself that like now, like that is something that I have to like take the emotion out of, because I've had an eating disorder. I mean, my clients mostly know, but I had a really bad eating disorder probably my whole life. I was bulimic, I was anorexic, I was all of the above. I even lived in Paris for a year. I don't remember most of that because I was so depressed. And I was really into like binge eating and then purging and all this crazy stuff. And that still comes up for me. That's not something that disappears. It's part of your physical makeup. It's part of your spiritual makeup. And it annoys me. I forget who I was listening to yesterday that said, you know, people look at Shaquille O'Neal like he was just, you know, born that way.
Right.
It was actually Mastin Kipp that said this. He brought out a lot of people who are really successful, and you know, people poo-poo us off like we were just born this way, or it's great genetics or whatever. But you know, it's a job every single day. It's looking that
you've got to pay your rent every day.
Right. We tell our kids that the sky's the limit if they just believe in themselves, that they can achieve all of their goals. But a lot of us have a hard time believing that ourselves.
Well, welcome the fear and welcome those obstacles, right? Because that's where your life is going to change. Instead of waiting for that day that everything's going to fall into place, knowing that those difficult times are where we're carving for those really big changes. Like that's amazing.
On the other side of resistance is transformation.
When we met each other, I mean, where were we? Do you guys remember?
Yeah, I remember. I was charging £50 a month. Barely. I didn't even know what I didn't know about business. I obviously still don't now, but I know a little bit more.
I was so happy to have a job where I could like raise my kids and have a job at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, but I was still so reliant on my husband, like thinking confidently that my husband makes a great living. So, you know, does it matter that I make a ton of money, or does it matter? And now like I'm buying my own car. Like that's crazy.
It's all about the mindset. Our coaches teach us the same thing that we teach our clients. Our coaches teach us that, you know, it is just overcoming that resistance. It is just showing your ego who's in charge. I mean, I just trained a Great Dane puppy. He's 3 now, and I can relate this to training a puppy. Okay. Our ego is that dominant male dog. If we let our ego win, if we let the resistance win, if we give up because we're feeling resistance, we are teaching our ego that our ego is in charge. Right. Just like a dog, you have got to beat your ego 2 times every time you let it win, because if you let it win once, it thinks it's in charge. So you've got to win twice after that. And I was looking at puppies last night. I'm like, maybe it's almost time for another one. I'm like, no, this one's still not 100% trained. We need to wait a little bit longer.
Man, you know, yeah, I think this is important to explain. I think if you had no limits in your self-belief, like what would you do? That's a question people can ask themselves. A lot of people would answer, I wouldn't work in an office anymore. I would become a writer. And it's like, well, how about you make that a reality, because you get one chance here on this earth. Go for it, you know? What are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid I won't have enough money to pay my bills and everything. Well, like, let's take some steps. And it's exactly the same with the body transformation or with our clients, right? It's like, what do you want? Well, I really want to have a slim body. I really want to feel good in my clothes. Okay, well, what's stopping you? Oh, well, I can't do stuff like that. Like, that will never happen for me. So the only thing that's really changing is the way they perceive things. And I guess the key is to break it down into bite-sized pieces.
Right. I think the key is too, you know, it's really important to have really big goals. And I think all 3 of us are advocates for that age-old philosophy that says, you know, make sure if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Yeah. But when you're starting out, guys, and when you're looking at us, and when you've just come into our programs, or you're just finishing our 12 weeks, it's very important to understand that you can have those big goals written, but sometimes it's important to shelf those big goals and break it down into little steps that you can take every single day to make it more practical. You can't say, I want to lose 15 pounds and have that as your goal and keep on looking at that big goal without these small steps. So sometimes it is necessary to shelf that big goal and then again, break it down into little bite-sized goals that you can really put into your life on the daily or weekly or whatever it is, right? I think that's really important to explain to.
You need to,
I agree.
You want to enjoy the process. And I talk a lot about trusting the process. When I started, when I wanted to learn about weights years ago, I didn't care. I had no care about how I looked or anything. I just really enjoyed every training session and like, what will I learn? And like, I don't know, I never got hung up. I'm just lucky. I'm very trusting. And I didn't really care too much if my body was going to change or not. And I look back and I'm like, I'm so glad that I was like that, you know? And I had like, I was such a little stick and I only could hold like not heavy weights at all, but I felt like the king, you know, doing my deadlift with my little bar and like doing my bicep curls with like 2 kilogram or whatever. I don't know what that'll be in pounds, like maybe 4 pounds.
5 pounds almost.
Yeah, 5 pounds, right. And, but I enjoyed, what I'm saying is you're going to go through a process in life, whatever it is, but it's up to you how you feel about it. So you can go through something and be really stressed and like tearing yourself to pieces because you think you're failing, or you can just go through that same process and not feel that way.
Again, it's perspective. It's perspective. Like, you know, going through exactly what you just said, some people will go through that and think, oh my gosh, this isn't working. I'm failing. This isn't working. The scale hasn't moved. Holy shit. I suck at this. This is an awful experience. I can't believe I just paid this much money and I'm not seeing results. This is horrible. Jenny's a shitty coach, blah, 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 blah. But somebody else will go through the exact same experience and they will have a completely different perspective. Oh my gosh, I am so grateful that I'm learning so much. I had no idea how important protein is. I had no clue. I didn't have to do all the cardio in the world. I actually am beginning to enjoy lifting weights. And let me tell you, I did not enjoy lifting weights when I first started. My first coach was a figure competitor. And she was like, honey, you're going to lift weights. And I was like, what about the treadmill?
Yeah. I don't want to be a mass monster.
I don't want to get bulky.
Yeah.
I don't want to get bulky. I don't know if lifting weights is the right thing for me. I don't want to get bulky.
Like you. I don't want to be big like you.
That's exactly it. I was like, well, like, your muscles are a little bit masculine. I don't know if I want to do what you do. And she's like, honey, it took me a decade to build this much muscle.
Don't worry, you never will look like me.
Exactly. And to this day, I'm still chasing her. Actually, really side story about this former coach of mine, my very first coach, she is all over ads on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Somebody stole her pictures years ago and I see them all the time. Every time I see them, I'm like, oh, there's my first coach. Somebody stole her pictures and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. But what a roundabout compliment, you know?
Yeah.
People are using her for all sorts of weight loss ads. It's crazy. But
I see they're using her as like, this is what you could look like.
Actually her photos from when she was in comp mode. And that's just a little side note to remember, you guys, comparison is the thief of joy. And when you're seeing photos of most people who have competed, you're seeing, we all get photo shoots when we compete. We get photo shoots 1 week out or a couple days out. We get it when we are at the damn near stage ready, and stage, Holly knows, Nora knows, stage lean is like such a temporary thing. You're stage lean for the week. That's it. Yeah. And then you're different. So like, don't compare yourself to anybody who's stepping on the stage or getting a photo shoot, because we prep for those photo shoots. You know, we deplete our water and sodium, and I don't love it, but it is what it is. If I ever compete again, I'm gonna do it in, I'm going to prove a point. I'm going to have a Snickers bar every day or something. Like, I'm not
You're
kidding.
going to do it your way.
I am going to do it my way. And I do want to compete again. I really do. I just turned 35 and now I can compete in masters. So I'm not against the 18-year-olds anymore. So I think I'd like to. And I sucked at it. I was no good at competing. I got 14th out of 28 the first time around.
That's not bad.
I landed in the middle.
That's halfway,
yeah. 8 out of 14. So I landed in the middle both times. That wasn't the best, but that wasn't the worst. And, you know, I learned a lot about my body and myself. But all of this to say, like, it is so much about perspective. It is all about perspective. And I try to really check myself when I'm having a bad day, because we all have bad days, you know, it doesn't matter how good your mindset is. We're all going to have off days. And I really do my best to check myself. And one thing that I learned a long time ago, probably from a Bob Proctor or Tony Robbins, one of the gurus, was that, you know, you can't be upset and grateful at the same time. It's impossible. It's impossible. So I started a practice with my kids, and I've shared this with my clients, and a lot of them do it with their kids now too. I started this when my kids are in crummy moods, because I notice, like, you know, kids are generally only in crummy moods when they're hungry or tired. So if you can't, right, me too. If you can't take a nap and you don't have easy exercise.
They seem to be in crummy moods no matter what.
Well, my son's going to be 16 in a couple weeks, so I guess I'm about to find out, aren't I?
Yeah.
But I would get my kids, like, I would stop them, like, hey, give me 5 grateful thoughts right now. And I want you to sit on each one. Don't just give me 5 real quick. I mean, I want you to sit on each one. And I started doing that, and my kids would be in a great mood by the end of 5 grateful thoughts. And it's so true. So if you take anything away from this call, just take that. If you're in a shitty mood, 5 grateful thoughts.
I think the most important thing about gratitude is that what I found since I became grateful, and, you know, it took us a long time, I think, to get here, because when we all started with our coaches, we were in like a scarcity mindset, and scarcity mindset is where, you know, you always live in fear that the shoe is going to drop out, or, you know, you're kind of behind the 8 ball. Like when you want to lose those 15 pounds or you know, why people come to us, you kind of are almost in a panic to hit this goal. And when you have a scarcity mindset, it's all about, people come to me saying all the time, like, I want to lose 15 pounds. I'm like, what do you want to gain? What do you want to gain? What do you want to gain? I don't want to hear about what you want to lose. What do you want to gain? And I think that when you become a gainer and when you become grateful, those things in your life magnify. Whatever you focus on magnifies. Tony Robbins gives a great example of this in one of his podcasts, where he talks about how he has everybody look around the room for everything brown, right? Yeah. And then everybody closes their eyes. And then he says, okay, now tell me one thing in the room that was red. And nobody can do it because they were all focused on what was brown. And I know you give this example a lot, but guys, if you're listening to us, the one thing we want you to focus on is what you're grateful for. How many things in your life? I have so many women that come to me that are so pissed off at themselves for falling off the wagon. But what did that woman, who you were, what did she achieve for you? Did she raise your kids? Did she go back to school? Did she do all this stuff? She had to make that trade-off. So be grateful for her.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. When we ride horses, we're taught never to look down, because if you look down, that's where you're going to end up. And it's true. It will make you fall off because you focus on it. And that's a physical thing. So I've got one of my clients that she's been with me since she started in October. And she's really turned her life around. I'm so proud of her. She's actually given up smoking, which is a big thing. Wow. And this has been part of her journey. She's shed over 10 kilograms, which is a lot. I don't know what that is in pounds, but it's a lot. But she's done it steady. And she's learned. When she first came to me, she has 2 small kids. She was like, I was like, you'll need to plan out your food. You need to think about what you're going to eat. And she was like, oh, there's no way I can do that. I'm so busy. People say this all the time because it's rewarded to be busy, right? Oh, I'm so busy. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I'm so not busy. I take lots of time to be not busy. And I'm really proud of that. And it's taken years for me to consider that an accolade, to not be busy all the time. So in the beginning, when I look back to how she felt and how she is now, she knows what to eat. And when she's making the kids' lunches, she can make herself lunch. And she realizes that probably takes like 30 seconds longer than, you know, if she's making their lunch anyway. And she knows the difference between if she puts herself to bed on time, how she feels when she gets up, because that's a huge one. And she feels so much stronger, because she used to be, when she was younger, like super athletic, but that you have kids and things change. And now after this time together, she's like really like, wow, like tricep push-ups were really hard for me. And now I'm banging them out. Like, and I'm like, these are amazing. Even if her body hadn't changed, which could never happen because it always does change when you do all these other things. But just to focus on like quitting smoking and knowing how to plan your day out and how strong you are and how your kids see that and they're so inspired by you, and then they're thinking that that's how they want to live. Like, that's huge.
Contagious. And I think, you know, just to give you guys an idea of the power of mindset for people who are watching, I have one client who's been with me, I believe she's going into week 8, and she's 74. She's amazing. She's just one of our most amazing, like, we so love having her in the tribe because she's so positive no matter what. So last week she went for her first shot of the COVID vaccine.
Okay.
And she had forearm planks written into her program. And she tried to do forearm plank and she crashed immediately to the ground because her arm had been so swollen, whatever, she had a reaction to the shot. And I said, don't even worry about it. Like, it's not a big deal. You know, you shouldn't have worked out anyway, but you know, this is the education. This is what you're learning about yourself. So the next time that we had our virtual call, I wrote in forearm planks. And when she was getting down into the forearm plank, I said, just remember, like, it's an active push with your elbows into the floor. It's an active push with your toes. And previously her record was 47 seconds. So 47 seconds hits. Now I'm watching on the stopwatch. I'm not even going to tell her. And I'm like, okay, listen, I want you to go somewhere in your head. I want you to go to that beach in Jamaica. I want you to pretend that you're sitting there and you're waiting for your drinks to come up and the sun is beating on your head. She made it to 1:29 seconds. Because the power of this is huge.
Yeah.
Forever.
100%. Like, the mind gives up long before the body. And that's so proven. Like, you're totally, that's such a great example. I've done that too, like talking someone through a static hold. And they're like, oh, they don't even know what time it is. So they're thinking, or maybe I'm not even at like the 45-second mark yet. So I better stay a bit longer, you know?
Yeah. And that's the most amazing thing, like that. And guys, if you're not taking advantage of this, like when you have coaches, and I can't say this to my clients enough, and I know that Jenny and Holly speak to this all the time, that's why we're here, for those kind of things. So like when you get into a gym, when you have those difficult days, the more vulnerable and the more honest you are with us to talk to us about this, to have us talk you through it, to use your support system, use our tribes, use our groups. I know my clients are members of Holly's group, Jenny's group. Use this support system because we're all like-minded. That's the most beautiful thing. We're all here. I say to my girls, imagine a mountain, right? There are people at the top of the mountain that are pulling people up. There are people at the bottom of the mountain pushing people up. That's how we exist. And that's where true success is. That's where you find these like-minded individuals and your life just kind of evolves into really being, you know, when we got on this call today, it was so funny because there was just, you know, the three of us and we were having our technical difficulties or whatever, but we were saying like how grateful we are because there was a moment in time when my inspirations seemed so far off. And now the people who have inspired me are coming to work with me or work under me, like work with me as their coach. And I'm like, what? Like, what? You know, so it just happens. And when it happens, it's kind of one of the most amazing things, like celebrating those small victories, because that's where I started. Just celebrating the stupidest, smallest thing. You know, like Holly said, taking the sugar out of your tea or something. Mm-hmm. Once you focus on that and are grateful for those small steps and small victories, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And then you're like, wait a second, is this for real?
Pinch me.
100 million times a day, right, guys? How many times do we pinch ourselves? Like, is this real? Do we get to work with all these cool people?
Yeah.
Is this what I actually get to do with my life? Yeah. Really?
And I think oh, go. No, sorry.
I was just going to say that I was sharing with these ladies too before our call today that I had a reading with my psychic who I love. She helps me run my group coaching calls. Actually, she comes on once a month and talks to my clients and answers questions for them, which is amazing. And she told me, you were put on this earth to help people overcome resistance. And again, going back to perspective, like that perspective right there, just, you know, I've woken up every single morning since I spoke to her. And when I'm practicing gratitude, I say to myself, I'm so happy and grateful that I get to help people overcome resistance every day, because that's, you know, that's how you reach your goals, is by overcoming resistance. And I think you spoke to this a little bit, Nora, and I'm sure that Holly, you've had your experiences as well. And I've had my experiences with disordered eating, and I can't say that I'm not grateful for that experience, because that helped me get to where I am now. And no one can help someone unless they've overcome it themselves. And I look back to that time, and I am so grateful that I went through that, because that helped me understand nutrition and my body. And I now use that to help my clients. So again, going back to perspective, it's all about perspective.
And believing, really, I mean, I tell people all the time, your pain is your power. So, you know, where people are afraid of being in pain, afraid of spraining ankles, afraid of, you know, not landing a jump, afraid of all these things, like, man, in that pain, there is so much power, because what we learn is beyond anything that you can buy. You know, people use it all the time to say, the whole lotto winner thing, right? People believe like when they win lotto, they'll be happy. But take that a step further. People believe that when they're successful, they'll be happy. When the truth lies that your happiness is in the journey, is in every single day. It's not necessarily, and that's not to say that you're not going to have bad days. But again, even when I have bad days, all I have to do is get into my little group and I'm like, oh my gosh, like here are my girls. Or, you know, it's just weird. Like the other day I was not having a particularly great day. I don't remember what was going on. But one of my clients sent me this cool, like little package came in the mail, and it just lifts your days. You know, it's amazing. So I think that, again, you know, pain is power. That day I had to overcome something. It was probably due to reverse dieting, which everyone knows. I'm not going to hate it anymore. Like, this is my job. This is what I do. I show people how to overcome resistance, how to build muscle, how to build power. Through pain.
100%. I think the key to success with all this stuff is to overcome fear, because like Louise Hay, who I love, she's not around anymore, but an author, she says, stress is really just fear. So if you say, instead of being like, oh my God, I'm so stressed, it's like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. And that sounds funny because, you know, why would you say that? And I think if you can overcome fears, you are limitless, because fear is the thing that stops you doing things. And I don't want to not be able to do anything, you know. And if that, for me, I want to move to America. I'm waiting for them to start looking at visas again. This is a definite goal of mine. And, but it's very scary. It's huge, right? It's a big deal. Like, I've got a lot of shit here that I need to give away, and I need to get somewhere to live there and all of that. But if you take fear out of that scenario, well, it's quite simple, really. I just step on a plane and go somewhere else and continue doing what I'm doing somewhere else, you know? And I think a lot of clients, potential clients, people out there who want to change their bodies or minds and want to work with us, the only thing really stopping them is fear that they can't afford it, fear that they won't see it through and they'll be embarrassed, or other people will know and they'll be embarrassed, fear that they'll get hurt, fear that they won't be good enough and they won't be good enough to be on the program. But if you take fear out of it, actually just do it, you know, I think fear is probably one of the most dangerous concepts around. I guess, you know, on a basic level, it keeps you surviving. Because, but the most amazing people in the world are the ones that got through those barriers and just didn't see, you know, they weren't so afraid of the limits. And I think for me, that's just overcoming your fears is a big deal. Either Nora's gone to sleep or she's frozen.
Oh no, you're right. She's
her eyes are closed. I talked her into sleep.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Oh,
you're back. Nora's back. You disappeared and we were like, Nora's asleep or she's frozen.
Connection is unstable. Like, it's not that I have nothing to say, guys. Trust me.
Well, I mean, This is our most passionate subject, I think, is
Yeah.
mindset, because it's so huge. Again, I'm going to reiterate, you know, my clients, I can tell who actually utilizes the mindset stuff and who doesn't, and you can see it in the results. And the thing is, you guys, if you are one of my clients and you're listening, or if you are one of Nora or Holly's clients, or maybe you just are just watching us and you're not either one of our clients, but you're inspired by the words that we're saying, just know that, you know, if you can overcome the mindset stuff, the body stuff's going to happen. It's a byproduct. It's going to happen. That's why my program has shifted from just fitness and nutrition to primarily mindset. That's how you transform. That's how you have incredible results. Look at the most successful people in your life that you know personally. I can guarantee you they are all very conscious of their mindset, and that they are, you know, that they have practices and rituals that maybe they're not even conscious of. Maybe it's subconscious that they have visualized. And that's another one. Visualization is so powerful. And if you're really stuck on this stuff, the easiest way that I found to start visualizing is to just spend a couple minutes thinking of, what does your ideal day look like? What does your ideal day look like? It probably doesn't look like reaching over and grabbing your phone as soon as you wake up.
Right. And it's really important too to track not only your food. Let's face it, everybody knows the secret, right? Calories in, calories out. Everybody knows to drink more water. Everybody knows. But like, how honest are people to track their activity during a day, to track what you actually do? It's like people are resistant to track their food. People are resistant to track their water. Why? Why can't you be accountable? Because that's the first step. And that's where you know where you need to make the changes or how you need to adjust.
Yeah. So being honest with yourself. And that means overcoming fear, the fear of, I might not like what I see. I might not like, you know, what my reality. But you've got to be honest with yourself, because that's the only way you can change.
We do have a couple comments, ladies.
Oh.
Yeah, we've got quite a few people watching. Thank you all for being here. Hello, ladies. Did we meet through a common coach? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Thank goodness. I'm so grateful. You're getting some props here, Nora, for sharing about your eating disorder as well. And then how can we help and motivate family to change bad habits? Unfortunately, I've realized that you can't make anybody ready. They have to decide that they're ready to make a change. And that's a really tough one. A lot of us want to help people. I mean, that's what us three ladies do. We're here because we're so passionate about helping people, but I'm sure you ladies would agree, you can't make anybody ready. I've learned that the hard way. You know, sometimes I'll get a client who will pay me in full and never do the work ever, right? Because
you get out what you put in. You get out what you put in.
That we model, you know, I think that a lot of people are like, how can I get my family on board? Well, if you're miserable tracking your food, and if you seem miserable buying healthy food for your family, and if you seem miserable about having to go out for walks and you're trying to drag them out with you, well, I wouldn't want to be part of that either. So I think it's really important that we're positive role models, that we pay our experience forward. Again, living in that gratitude, because when people see that, that is contagious. The formula itself might not be contagious to people, but them seeing you happy and fulfilled, that's what's contagious, and that's when they want to follow.
Yes.
Yeah, people believe in actions. And I've noticed, you know, sometimes people don't see me for a long time, and then they'll see me when I'm about to step on stage or something, and they're like, what did you do? You know, what do you do? Well, I consistently live my life in a consistent manner every day. Every day I pay my rent and I just quietly beaver away. And then when it's time, I reveal what I've done. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. This is not, absolutely. I say all the time, listen, anything you want to achieve, you can do. This is not just for certain special people. This is for everybody.
Okay. And again, what you just said, Nora, like, it's no secret, you guys, like, everybody knows that if you want to lose weight, you have to eat less than you burn. Like, it's that simple. It's really
the beauty of it is, though, Jen,
like, that sounds so boring.
But Nora, people don't know how much they're eating. This is what
that's right.
They don't know, because you have to be honest with yourself to understand that you're not moving that much, and we all think, oh, that's not a lot of food. But then when you like properly look, you know, it's the same with money, right? I didn't spend a lot of money this month. Where the hell is it all? And it's like, wow.
I say that too. Like, think
all
of
these little things, you know, they add up, and it's just the same as that. It's just the same as that. If you can be successful with one, you can be successful with the other. But it is an education.
It is. That's right. A lot of my clients will actually tell me in the first week, like, are you sure that's not too much food? I feel like I'm eating more than I used to eat. Oh no, honey, you ate more before, or you had to have eaten more before, but you weren't eating any protein. You were eating muffins, and there's nothing wrong with muffins. You can have muffins in my program. I'm probably going to go mow down after I'm done this call. And you can eat. It's just that we don't realize how much we're eating, exactly what you just said.
And in fairness to everybody out there, listen, we've all been there. You know, it seems like we've come light years, and it seems like this is like old hat to us at this point. But in fairness to everyone out there, the diet industry and the fitness industry is so freaking loud right now. They will throw any piece of shit they can your way. They'll tell you should be keto, you should be paleo, you should be on an 800 calorie diet and not lift for 2 weeks because you're going to be too weak. All this stuff. So guys, listen, the bottom line always is going to be calories in and calories out. But how do you want to spend your life? Do you want to spend your life more active doing the things you love and eating beautiful food? Or do you want to spend your life chasing this body part down the street and eating less food and trying to go in and out? The gerbil wheel is a real thing, right? How many times have you gotten on this wagon and you've gotten off the wagon? And what sustains you is always going to be the mindset. It's always going to be the mindset. That's why our clients do not fall off the wagon. That's why we have such long lasting results, I think. And that's why, because it's about education and it's about that mindset that keeps you in it.
Yeah. And I think it's important to think about your physical health. You know, your heart is key, and it needs to be able to do its job unrestricted. And I say this a lot, but we live in the first world country where we can just grab anything we want at any time. We live very excessively. That's just how we are, because there's a lot of money and stuff. And it's, we've become kind of spoiled brats, really, as in the first world. And we feel that we are entitled, that we need like all this food, and why should we move, and all of that kind of stuff. And actually, you know, you don't. Your body, if you could talk to it, would be like, I really just want to do my job. I really just want to be able to move. My heart just really wants to be able to beat. The blood just really wants to be able to flow. And that's, you know, this is your little home, your little shell that you live in. And if only you would listen to it, I think. So, yeah, I think that it's important to say that as well.
And we got another question. What is your favorite affirmation for a day? And I think that might be a great way to end things. Okay. So if you ladies want to go first.
Your favorite affirmation for a day? Mm-hmm. Like what you would say in the morning for the day ahead? Mm-hmm. I'm going to think. I need to think.
I just listened to an audiobook, and ever since I listened to that, I have been saying this affirmation that I love, and it was just repeated back to me when I had that reading with my psychic the other day. And that affirmation is that infinite knowledge flows through me. Infinite knowledge flows through me. So I have been saying that every single day. And, you know, I'm not super highly educated. Again, I was a mediocre high school student. I took aesthetics for 1 year afterwards. I worked in a spa for a while. I did my personal training online. I did my nutrition certification online. I'm not super well educated, but I feel like I do have a lot of knowledge. And I really love that affirmation. I've been saying it every single morning since I heard it. So that might be a good one. I truly believe that. I truly believe that infinite knowledge flows through all of us. Again, going back to the mindset, it's up to us whether we believe that or not.
Yeah, I guess mine would be, I am so happy and grateful now that I am confident and successful.
I love it.
Yeah, confident and successful, I think. Yeah. And I say I am. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that mine is I'm powerful, but it changes every day depending on, I'm not a believer in, again, do I start all my clients out with positive affirmations? Yeah, but I'm a believer that positive affirmations are bullshit unless you're like really living it. So I think I wake up every day believing that I'm powerful, but powerful to overcome what? That changes every single day.
Right.
Because some days I'm powerful to overcome, you know, just problems that I'm having in a relationship or problems that I'm having, figuring out how to take out business loans and all this crazy stuff now that my business is really taken off. But
well done, by the way. That's awesome.
yeah, but it's so scary. I have to
Yeah,
say,
it's so scary. Well, you've got to overcome that then, right?
weird. It's also weird when you ask like other female entrepreneurs, because as female entrepreneurs, we're so supportive of each other. But I'm finding a lot of female entrepreneurs that only like to work with guys, which is where I was when I was totally insecure.
Oh.
I had a really hard time with other women. And so it's interesting to see that now, like from a perspective. And I think too, one of my clients who turned me onto this podcast, turned me onto this guy who was talking about the difference of an ant's perspective of the world and an eagle's perspective of the world.
Oh, okay. I like that concept.
Yes, isn't that a cool concept? I believe that was Mastin Kipp as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I was just going to remind everybody that we are doing a giveaway, and we required everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we have had a lot of subscribers, but we don't know who you all are, because if you've got a private account, we can't see your name. So we really, if you have subscribed and you want to enter the giveaway, remember that on this video, you need to tell us that. So like, what do you want? What do we want them to say?
Just comment. Let us know that you've subscribed. You can even just write the word subscribed. Keep it simple. Yeah.
And we so appreciate the support, guys. Thank you so much. You guys have been supportive from day one. And it's just so great to see all of these cool people coming together. I love to see all of your clients in my groups, and likewise my clients in your groups. And my clients will tell me sometimes, because our Facebook feeds get so crazy now, but they'll be like, oh, Jenny posted this or Holly posted this. Like, you know what I mean? So they're really getting a lot of benefit out of following you guys. And I think that's just cool. We're changing one little time, girls.
I love that. Well, we'll tot up all of the people that have subscribed and have told us that they have, and we're going to look at this Wednesday, right, you guys? I think we said close a business Wednesday. At some point, we'll have to decide which time zone. Yeah, that will be. But you guys, at some point Wednesday, we will pick a winner, and we will let you know. And we will, whichever country that is in, we will send.
We'll all post it on our pages and congratulate you. So good luck. So exciting.
It'll be a really nice Amazon basket with all like health and wellness and fitness.
All of our favorite products. We're each going to pick something cool.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for it.
This has been a really good episode. I think we've shared some good stuff here. And our next episode will be springtime. So we'll probably do some spring cleaning stuff, I guess. And we'll cover off some different topics. We'll have a chat about that. But yeah, until then, I guess we should wish everybody adieu, right?
Yes, thank you for watching, everyone.
You guys stay just 1 second and I'll stop going live. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. I'll just stop recording.